A net worth of $100,000 sounds huge.
But in New York City, that covers less than 2 years' rent on a typical solo apartment. And it's just around the median net worth for adults under 35 in America in 2024. According to data from the Federal Reserve and Empower, hitting this number is a significant achievement. But it's not the finish line. In fact, it's the real starting line. Yet hit this milestone, and your financial journey changes. Here's how. With the real numbers. First, let's smash the biggest myth about hitting $100,000. And that myth is that it makes you wealthy. The reality is far more nuanced, and understanding it is the key to building real financial security. Let's start with where you stand. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances from 2022, the median net worth for an American household headed by someone under 35 years old is just $39,000. Median means half are above that number and half are below. So if you've managed to accumulate a net worth of $100,000, you aren't just doing okay. You're statistically in rare company for your age group, placing you near the 75th percentile. That means you have more wealth than 3/4 of your peers. For older age groups, that $100,000 figure is less remarkable. The median for all families is $192,900. But for someone starting their career, it is a monumental first summit to climb. It's proof that you have established the habits, discipline, and systems to build wealth. That is an asset far more valuable than the money itself. However, the feeling of accomplishment can quickly evaporate when you translate that number into real-world purchasing power, especially in a high cost of living city. Let's take New York City, for example. As of 2024, data from CBS 6 Albany and the New York Comptroller's Office shows that the average rent for a solo apartment in the city is a staggering $4,020 per month. If you do the math, $100,000 divided by 4,020 gives you about 24.8 months. That's it. Your entire six-figure net worth covers just over 2 years of rent, without accounting for food, utilities, transportation, or a single unexpected expense. Suddenly, that mountain of money feels more like a small hill, a safety cushion that could be depleted far faster than it was built. This is the jarring reality of modern wealth accumulation. The numbers are bigger, but their power has been diluted by the rising cost of simply living. This leads to a major psychological disconnect. Culturally, we're conditioned to see six figures as a benchmark for success. But in 2024, that perception is outdated. Surveys from firms like McKinsey and Empower consistently show that most Americans feel they need significantly more than $100,000 to feel financially comfortable, let alone wealthy. That number is often closer to $500,000 or $1 million. So when you hit $100,000, you might be looking at your bank account, but you're feeling the cultural pressure that says it's not enough. This isn't a personal failing. It's a reflection of a new economic reality where the goalposts for financial security have moved dramatically. Let's make this real with a story. Meet Ashley. She's 29, works as an HR coordinator in Manhattan, and earns a salary of $65,000 a year. Her goal is to hit a $100,000 net worth before she turns 30. On paper, she's doing well. Her income is above the national median. But let's look at her budget. Her rent for a small apartment is $3,200 a month. Food and utilities cost her another $800. Her monthly subway pass is $140. And she budgets about $400 for her social life and other lifestyle expenses. That's a total of $4,540 in monthly costs. After taxes, her $65,000 salary gives her a take-home pay of around $4,300 per month. She's actually in a deficit each month before she saves a single dollar. She manages to save by cutting back and picking up side projects, but the progress feels excruciatingly slow. She looks at her peers, sees their vacations and designer bags on social media, and feels like she's falling behind. Even as she approaches a major financial milestone, that feeling of being just middle class is overwhelming. The solution for Ashley wasn't to earn more, at least not at first. It was to reframe her perspective with data. First, she analyzed her salary versus her expenses and saw the hard truth. Her high cost of living was eating nearly all of her income. But then she found the Federal Reserve data. When she learned that a $100,000 net worth would place her in the top 25% of people her age, everything changed. She wasn't behind. She was ahead. This validation was powerful. It didn't erase her financial challenges, but it replaced her anxiety with confidence. She recognized that she had achieved something rare and that her next step wasn't about comparing herself to others, but about building an intentional strategy to grow what she had already accomplished. Second, let's see what $100,000 actually earns you and how to multiply it faster. Once you cross this threshold, you unlock a powerful new phase of wealth building, where your money can start to do the heavy lifting for you. This is the crossover point, where the growth of your assets can potentially outpace what you're able to save from your paycheck. Let's talk about investing. If you had $100,000 invested in an S&P 500 index fund, which represents the 500 largest companies in the U.S., your money would have experienced significant growth in a strong market year. For example, according to S&P Global and Slick Charts, the total return for the S&P 500 in 2024 was about 26.3%. On a $100,000 investment, that's a gain of $26,300 in a single year. Now, it's crucial to understand that this is an exceptional return, not an average one. The market goes up and down, but it illustrated a critical point. At the six-figure level, the potential annual growth from your investments can be more than what the average person saves in an entire year. For many, saving $26,300 would require years of disciplined sacrifice. With a substantial base invested, the market can do that work for you in just 12 months. Now, let's contrast that with where most people keep their money, a traditional savings account. According to the FDIC, as of December 2024, the National Average Annual Percentage Yield, or APY, on a savings account is a tiny 0.45%. If you kept your $100,000 in an account like this, you would earn just $450 in interest over a year. After inflation, you are effectively losing money. While some high-yield savings accounts offer better rates, for instance, NerdWallet and Bankrate report that Varo Bank offers up to 5% APY, though it's often on a limited balance, like the first $5,000. Many people are still stuck with the default low-yield options. The difference is stark. $26,300 from investing in a strong year, maybe $5,000 from a top-tier savings account or $450 from a traditional one. Your choice of where to park your money has monumental consequences. This is why so many Americans struggle to build wealth. It's not just about earning, it's about the rate of accumulation. The U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and Statista report that the personal savings rate in 2024 hovers around 4.5%. This means for every $100 of after-tax income, the average American is only saving $4.50. At this rate, building a substantial nest egg is a long, slow grind. This is precisely why starting to invest early and automating the process is essential. You need to get your money out of accounts where it's losing value and into assets where it can grow and compound on its own. If you only save at today's U.S. rates, how long until you reach $1 million? Keep watching. The answer is coming up. Let's look at Marcus. He's 32, a public school teacher in Brooklyn, earning $72,000 a year. He's incredibly diligent and has saved up nearly $100,000. He shares an apartment to keep his rent at $2,800 a month and is careful with his spending. His family's culture is rooted in the value of saving. They see his $100,000 in the bank as the ultimate security, a sign that he's set. But Marcus doesn't feel set. He sees the rising cost of groceries, his subway pass, everything. He knows that his hard-earned savings are being silently eroded by inflation. He wants his money to work harder, to build a future that isn't solely dependent on his teacher's salary. Marcus's solution begins with a simple evaluation. He looks at his savings account statement and sees the 0.45% APY. He then compares that to the current inflation rate of over 3% and the potential market returns he's been reading about. The math is undeniable. His safe money is losing purchasing power every single day. He decides to take action. He keeps a solid emergency fund in a high-yield savings account, but reallocates a significant portion of his $100,000 into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. To build on this, he sets up an automated withdrawal from his checking account to his investment account every month. The outcome is transformative. He projects that in a strong market year like 2024, his initial investment could grow by over $26,000. This is a monumental shift. He's no longer just a saver, he's an investor. His wealth is now building on its own, creating momentum and reducing his dependence on squeezing every last dollar out of his paycheck. Quick poll. Are your earnings growing faster than your savings? Tell us below. Third, what does hitting $100,000 actually do for your peace of mind? And why does it still never feel like enough? The journey to your first six figures is as much a psychological battle as it is a financial one. And what you find when you get there can be surprising. While there's no official $100,000 psychological tipping point that's been formally studied, anecdotal evidence and broader research on wealth and well-being tell a clear story. Financial anxiety tends to drop significantly once a person's net worth moves from low five figures into the six-figure range. Why? Because $100,000 represents a powerful buffer. It's the difference between a job loss being a catastrophe and it being a manageable, albeit stressful, transition. It's the ability to handle a major medical bill or a car repair without going into debt. This amount of money provides options, and options are a direct antidote to the feeling of being trapped by your circumstances. Even if it doesn't make you feel rich, it introduces a level of security that allows you to breathe a little easier and think more long-term. However, this newfound peace of mind often comes with a new set of pressures. Most Americans, especially those living in major cities, find that the goalposts for enough are constantly moving. You hit $100,000 and immediately the new target becomes $250,000, then $500,000, then $1 million. This is fueled by PEER and MEDIA pressure. You see the curated lives of others on social media. You read headlines about skyrocketing costs. And you live in a society with highly visible wealth inequality. This environment makes it incredibly difficult to feel content with your progress. The cultural narrative in the U.S. is one of constant striving, which can turn a moment of achievement into just another rung on a never-ending ladder. You may be objectively secure, but you feel subjectively behind. This anxiety is compounded by the reality of how fragile that security can feel. As we've mentioned, the national personal savings rate is just 4.52%, according to the BEA and Statista. This means that even for people who have successfully accumulated $100,000, the underlying habit of saving may not be deeply ingrained. They worry that they can't replenish their funds quickly if an emergency strikes. A major setback could wipe out years of hard work, sending them right back to where they started. This fear is valid. Hitting the milestone is one thing. Having the system in place to maintain and grow it is another. Without a strong savings and investment engine, a $100,000 net worth can feel like a temporary state rather than a permanent new level of financial well-being. Consider Jamal's story. He's 34, a freelance web developer living in Atlanta with an income of about $84,000 a year. Living in a city with a lower cost of living, his rent is a more manageable $1,650 per month. He recently crossed the $100,000 savings mark, a huge achievement, as he's the first person in his immediate family to do so. He expected to feel a profound sense of security, of having made it. Instead, he feels a persistent low-grade anxiety. He compares his situation to tech billionaires in the news and feels insignificant. He worries about rising costs and the instability of freelance income. The number in his bank account is large, but his sense of security is small. Jamal's breakthrough came from shifting his focus from external comparison to internal data. He started by looking at the same statistics we've discussed, realizing that his net worth places him far ahead of most of his peers. This simple act of recentering his expectations was the first step. He recognized that his anxiety wasn't coming from his actual financial situation, but from judging himself against headlines and social media portrayals of wealth. He then used this newfound clarity to set his own goals. Instead of just chasing a bigger number, he prioritized building a 6-month emergency fund, ensuring a portion of his $100,000 was liquid and safe. He celebrated his progress and made a conscious decision to stop measuring his success by someone else's ruler. The outcome was a profound shift in his mindset. He started to see his $100,000 not as a disappointing milestone on the road to $1 million, but as a powerful foundation for a secure and self-directed life. Finally, here's exactly how everyday Americans, like Anna and you, can move from $100,000 to $1 million. Reaching your first $100,000 is the hardest part. The journey to your first million is about strategy, consistency, and time. Let's break down the actionable plan. First, you need to use the most powerful wealth-building tools available to you: tax-advantaged retirement accounts. For 2024, the IRS allows you to contribute up to $23,000 to a 401k plan, which is typically offered by an employer. On top of that, you can contribute up to $7,000 to an individual retirement account or IRA. That's a total of $30,000 per year that you can invest in an environment where it grows either tax-deferred or, in the case of a Roth account, completely tax-free. This is a massive advantage. Taxes can be one of the biggest drags on your investment growth over time. And by maximizing these accounts, you are essentially giving yourself an automatic boost every single year. If your employer offers a 401k match, that's free money. It should be the absolute first financial priority to contribute enough to get the full match. Second, you must automate everything. Willpower is a finite resource. You cannot rely on feeling motivated every payday to manually transfer money into your savings and investment accounts. You need to build a system that runs on its own. Let's put some real numbers to this. Using the median U.S. salary of $60,580 per year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics for Q3 2024. A 10% savings rate would be about $505 per month. A 15% rate is about $757 per month, and a 20% rate is about $1,010 per month. By setting up automatic transfers from your checking account to your 401k, your IRA, and a taxable brokerage account on the day you get paid, you make saving and investing your default behavior. The money is put to work before you even have a chance to spend it. This is the single most effective habit for building wealth. Third, you need a realistic path. So let's answer the question from earlier. How long does it take to get to $1 million? If you only saved with a 4.5% savings rate on the median salary, it would take you hundreds of years. But with investing, the timeline shrinks dramatically. Let's design a sample plan. You start with your $100,000 base. You commit to investing $30,000 per year by maxing out your 401k and IRA. You invest these funds in a low-cost, diversified portfolio like an S&P 500 index fund. While past performance is no guarantee of future results, the historical average annual return of the stock market is around 10%. Let's be a bit more conservative and assume an 8% average annual return. By running these numbers through a compound interest calculator, you would reach $1 million in just under 14 years. This is the power of a clear strategy. The single tweak that cuts years, even decades off your timeline is moving from being a passive saver to an active, automated investor. Let's look at our final character, Anna. She's 31, a marketing manager in Chicago, earning $92,000 a year. She has just reached a $100,000 net worth, but she feels pulled in a million directions. She has $400 a month in student loan payments. She wants to enjoy life in a vibrant city, and she's thinking about starting a family in the future. Her peers are all over the place financially. Some are deep in debt. Others have family help and are far ahead. She's struggling to find the right balance. Anna's solution is to get intentional with a concrete plan. She decides to go all in on her future self. She increases her 4,100 contributions to hit the annual maximum of $23,000. She then opens a Roth IRA and sets up automatic transfers to max that out at $7,000 a year. Before doing this, she uses a simple spreadsheet to model the impact. She sees how raising her savings rate from a modest 10% to a more aggressive 20 to 25% drastically accelerates her path to $1 million. The visual impact is motivating. She automates everything and invests consistently in an S&P 500 index fund. The projected outcome gives her a clear target. She is on track to reach a $1 million net worth by her early 40s. This knowledge is empowering. It doesn't mean she stops having fun, but it allows her to make spending decisions with confidence, knowing that her future is secure. She has found the balance between living for today and building for tomorrow. So let's recap the journey. 3 key takeaways stand out. First, a $100,000 net worth is a major milestone for Americans under 35. According to the Federal Reserve, it puts you in the top quarter of your age group, a truly significant achievement. Second, in 2024, that number buys far less than you think. Thanks to inflation and the high cost of living, context is everything. It's a foundation for security, not a ticket to luxury. And third, the path from $100,000 to $1 million is all about strategy. It's not about luck or genius. It's about maximizing your retirement accounts, automating your investments, and using real numbers to set realistic, achievable goals. Here are your action steps to get started today. First, calculate your net worth right now. Assets minus liabilities. Then, contextualize it using the data we discussed to understand where you truly stand among your peers. It might be better than you think. Second, this week, log into your accounts and automate your contributions. Set up an automatic transfer to your 401k, IRA, or a brokerage account that happens the day you get paid. Make your progress automatic. Finally, set a calendar reminder to revisit your plan every 6 months. Adjust for inflation, any raises you get, and changes in your life. Stay engaged and keep yourself on the track to your first million. If you learned something new today and want more real number money breakdowns, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And I want to hear from you. Share this video with a friend who is also aiming for their own 6-figure net worth. Let's debunk the myths with facts and help each other build real, lasting wealth. This video is for educational purposes only and is not personal financial advice. All amounts are in U.S. dollars using official U.S. government and top financial sources as of December 2024. All products and companies mentioned are for illustrative examples and are not recommendations. Please be sure to do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor for your specific situation before making any financial decisions.